Hey guys, welcome back to my playthrough of Compass Games Absolute Victory. At this point, I'm going to be getting into the nitty gritty of the game, the actual pulses, and the back and forth, the battles, and all that good stuff that I know everybody wants to see. You know, it's kind of funny, when I started doing this, I started doing it because there's no videos on YouTube of this game, and I really like the game, and I figured, others would want to see it, and hopefully I could learn some of the more specific rules from comment section, things like that. But, I thought I was an intelligent guy, I thought I sounded, pretty good, talking to people out in public, and then I put up a video on YouTube, and I'm like, who in the hell is that dumb redneck? I don't know. It just came out of nowhere. I promise, I'm really not that stupid in real life. But I did want to point out a couple little mistakes that I made real quick on my previous video. Right here is the land mode grid. And on it, there are a couple spots that say retreat ×2, and there's some that say retreat ×3. I messed that up when I was saying that meant you would retreat twice or 3 times. What that actually means is that the defenders suffer 2 times or 3 times the amount of hits that the attackers do, then they'll retreat. So that's a little addendum there for you guys. Now, something else that you're going to notice here is these beads on top of my game pieces. I've decided to use those in lieu of flipping the actual pieces. I actually took the time to mark the back of all the pieces. Let me grab one here and show you. See the back of this Great Britain unit, I've got a brown stripe across, and I did the same thing of the actual colors, blue, brown, silver, for all the different major powers. So I'd be able to take and know just by looking what unit or what faction that was, and it just seems like a lot more trouble than it's worth to have to flip all the pieces and then start the next turn by flipping all the pieces. So I went to Walmart and I grabbed a bag of these beads here. Let me grab them up here. It was a couple bucks for 500 of them. I tried to find a color that would stand out on the map and not blend in too much. It's gonna match the Japanese. I couldn't find anything that wasn't gonna match one of the colors, but I figured at least this way yellow would stand out enough that I'd be able to see it and I can just pluck them out afterwards. One more little addendum. These videos are going to have a lot of the event phase, the event pulse in it, and that's just because there's so much of that in this game. The year 39 only has 2 full turns, 4 months worth of game time from when the game starts, and you have to do 15 events. I did look it up, clarifying the instruction booklet, that at the end of the turn, any chit pulls you haven't done, which in a world conflict game, each side gets 6. I've done 2 so far for each side, so I have to do 4 more per side before the end of this turn. If I go to pass, end the turn, any chit pulls I haven't done, I do at that point. So I'll pull 6 for this turn, and the following turn I'll actually have to pull the remainder of the chits that are left to finish it off. Should be like 9 chits for each side. So there's going to be a lot of events going on. I might not film every single one that goes on because that's going to be a lot of events. I'll at least touch on the major ones, and I'll definitely film a good chunk of them because they do seem to have a fairly large impact. Like Romania here joining, Iran joining, so far been done to events. Italy joined due to that roll-off that I told you about previously. You can actually see I've moved some of the Italian units down here. There was a HQ unit, and an HQ unit has a neat ability. They can move and pick up units as they go and then drop them off. And with pretty much all of the excuse me, hexes in Europe counting as rail hexes, because they have the green dot at the very tip of them that tells you that it's a rail hex, and you have unlimited move on rail hexes. It allowed me to take one HQ unit and flick all over the board, picking up and dropping off pieces, and ending up down here where I plan on having the Italians push left into northern Africa to attack the French. I don't know if they can do that yet or not, if there might be a specific rule that gives them an ability. If none of these chit pool events have anything to do with that, I'll probably go ahead and do it on the next turn. I was going to try to have some naval battles happen, but Gibraltar down here on the left blocks off the Italian Navy from getting in here, so I'd have to have the French Navy come in, and I don't know if I'm going to have them do that yet or not. It's called a sea barrier, and it's only here in Europe. There's like 5 or 6 of them. You can tell because they have the keys on them. Here's one, for example. There's another over there, another here, and whatever side controls that sea barrier prevents naval units from entering or exiting. So until the Gibraltar piece, which is this one here, it's a very specific piece for Great Britain, is taken out, the UN controls that hex and Axis units can't sail in or out of it. There's a different one up here on Denmark, and until Germany takes over Denmark, their fleet, which is currently stationed here, is actually locked into place. They can't get out of there. So naval battles probably aren't going to be involved in this turn. They might be in the next turn when I get a little more familiar with the game system. We'll just have to see how it goes. I know I'm going to pretty much just take out Poland and wait till 1940 to move into France, because there's an event or a rule called the Halder thing. There's an event associated with it. But basically, Hitler can be assassinated by a UN event if Germany invades Belgium or France before 1940. Since I don't want that to happen, I'm probably just going to build up my units here and prepare for the assault of France as soon as 1940 kicks over. Now, I'm going to start with this set of units. I have 2 German infantry here. You can see this one has already completed its movement, and they're going to attack this Polish hex here. It's actually the capital, Warsaw, and you pull your chits off, and you pull them down here, and there is a marker that you put in place to remember what hex you're battling in. So I'm going to take and stop the video here. I'm going to pull up the front chart and set everything up, and then we'll roll off. Alright guys, I got the front set up here. Let me push it up a little bit so you can see better. Here we go. And we are ready for combat. I've decided the Germans are going to just employ 1 air unit, save some of their others for later, just in case any events pop up that need them. It is this 2B-3 unit here, which is, what is that? It's a HE-111. Is being used against the Polish infantry. The Polish units do not have any air left at this point. They have 1 unit that actually starts the game shattered, so it wouldn't be until the next turn at the earliest that they could possibly have any air, and France and Britain are not allowed to help them out. Alright, the way I am doing it, playing it solo, I've got the numbers written across the top there. This is what the instruction booklet said to go with for defense. 1 for counterattack, 2, 3 for hold, 4 to 7 for balanced, 8, 9 for defense in depth, and then a 10 means fighting retreat. So I'm gonna roll off on the Polish and see what defense mode. Wait, I gotta pick. Excuse me, real quick. You do have to pick your attack mode first to see what they're going to use. And let me think about this real quick. What would be best for me? Well, I want to crush them, so let's go Blitzkrieg. That's what the Germans used anyway, so I'm going to take and set this marker down here so I remember I'm using Blitzkrieg. And roll roll off. Let's see what they're using. Hopefully they don't pick the wrong one. All right. Polish units rolled a 7, which means they're going to be using balanced defense against Blitzkrieg. That's going to be right here. It's going to be a violence number of 5 and 6, and unfortunately the defense fires first. There is a retreat there. Whoever scores, I believe that's the most hits, will end up retreating, but the attackers do not flip. So this is good. I can attack them again if the attack fails. Now, let me get the dice set up. Since I have them flanked, I get 1 dice bonus, and I have an attack strength of 4 total. So the Germans will be rolling 5 dice in total against the Polish 1 dice. However, let me do the air battle real quick, or the bombing, before I forget it. And grab the red chart here. And with a bombing strength of 3 versus the Polish fortitude of 3, it's a 5. So I've got to roll a 5 or better to shatter the unit. Let's roll off, see if the bomber works before we do the ground attack. Alright. Got an 8, which means the Polish unit is shattered. So I don't have to worry about committing any ground combat at this point. Now, do remember that you can reserve forces, which would mean I could take one of these units, for example, and put them to the side as a reserve unit, and they wouldn't compete in the combat. And say this German unit got shattered or killed, this unit would still be in the hex afterwards. And I believe it flips. I'm not sure. I'd have to read that one to be sure. All right, let's go back to the map. Alright, we're back to the map, and here is the hex that the German units took over. They do have the option of continuing. Since it's snow weather where they're at currently, they used up 2 of their movement points to attack Warsaw and take out the Polish infantry. They could use their 2 remaining movement points to attack this Polish infantry here. Unfortunately, that is in eastern Poland, and I would violate the Soviet-German pact if I attacked that Polish infantry. So I won't. Since I'm not, that means that they have completed their move, and they're not going to be moving the rest of this turn. So I have to take and mark them as flipped, which is what that will represent there. Now, Poland only has 1 surrender city, which is what you've got to control to cause the country to surrender. That unit, that is controlled by this unit here. There's no way that 1 Polish infantry is going to take and be able to get back across. So I know that I've got Poland defeated. All I have to do is finish winding down the turn to have that happen. You know, just for giggles, just to show you guys how I'm doing it, I'm going to have the last remaining Polish infantry commit a suicide charge against the Germans that just took Warsaw to see if they can do any damage. And I'll show you guys how I'm handling that. It's really simple. I'm just reversing the rolls and rolling like they're the attackers. Give me a second. I'll set us back up to the front. Or here, we'll set the battle hex up. And since this unit is counted as flipped, it can still be attacked. There's no problem with that. And since I'm using the beads, I can easily see what units are in these spaces to make my choices on who's attacking where and what's going on with things like that. I'll take my battle hex marker and put it back on top of Warsaw and take us back down to the front. Alright, we're back down here to the front, and I have decided to take and use German air because, like I said, I'm going to get them all back out of the committed box back to the air availability box next turn, so there's no reason not to try to use them up and save my infantry this round. I'm using an ME-110, which has a attack rating of 2G-2, which we will roll off on here in just a sec. Now, since Poland is attacking on this, in the instructions, it just states about rolling on the defense chart. Since I'm playing as the Germans, in my mind, I'm playing with myself, technically. But since I'm playing as the Germans, what I'm going to do is just apply this same chart straight down the line here on the attackers. So, 1 for Blitzkrieg, 2, 3 for frontal assault, 4 to 7 for normal attack, you see, on down the line. And just have that be the roll-off both directions. Let me pick real quick what type of defense I want to go with. I'm still learning this on what the best way to go with it is, what works best versus different things. It is a little daunting to try to figure out. But since this defense in depth would give me a 6 if they chose Blitzkrieg versus their 4, and I would fire first, I think I will take and go with that one and see how it comes out. I'm not worried about them beating me, not having air power and twice as much infantry and a flanking bonus. This is pretty much just the last-ditch charge of that Polish cavalry with their lances against the panzers. So, I'm going to be using defense in depth, which is this marker here. And the Polish infantry is going to be using an 8, which is night attack. So, wow, that's interesting. It actually comes up down here. Violence number is only a 3. It's simultaneous. The side that takes the most damage retreats. The attackers do flip, the defense don't, and you ignore terrain. The terrain's clear, so that's not a problem, but weather still is a problem. I don't remember if I mentioned that on the previous attack, but weather right now is snowy, so that's subtracting 1 from the violence number on both sides, which means the violence number on this attack is actually going to be a 2 for both sides. Let's take night attack and set it down here, so we know the Polish are using that. I will take and pull up the red chart here for our airstrike. A attack rating of 2 versus a fortitude of 3 is a 6. So I got to roll a 6 or better to take out the Polish infantry. Let's roll off, see where it goes. And this is good that I got this so you guys can see it. I got a 0, which in air battles is a 0. You don't read it as a 10. I wish that they honestly had stuck with one or the other. Just said the whole game 0 is 10 or the whole game 0 is 0. I think it's just air battles that 0 counts as 0, but it might have something to do with naval too. We'll have to check on that one later. But I know this counts as a 0, so the bomber missed, and it's going to be moved to the committed box. So we are going to have a ground attack, which I honestly don't expect much to happen, considering the Polish infantry can't even damage the German infantry, since the highest violence number they have is a 2. And only rolling dice, the best they can roll is a 2, which can't even shatter a single unit. But we'll roll off on it just to have it happen. The Germans will again be rolling 5 dice. The Polish will be rolling 1. And let's see here. The only one that happened was this 2. The rest was a 7 for the Polish, which is higher. It's going to be an overroll. And the Germans, the rest of theirs were overrolls. Unfortunately, since this is a 2, it is not enough hits to take out the Polish infantry. So they simply go back down to the board. Let's see, they're going to have 2 more points of movement left. So I'll tell you what, we'll roll off on it again one more time. We'll have their second attack go. We'll leave everything the same, and we'll burn up the rest of their movement points. Last heroic charge of the Polish infantry. And Polish infantry rolled an 8. No good. However, the Germans rolled a 1, and a 2 among a 3, 3, and a 7. But since they did this, with their violence number being a 2, it means they got 3 hits in total. Oh, let me move that up so you guys can see better. There we go. It means they got 3 hits in total, which is enough to shatter this last remaining Polish unit. So they will take and go to the shattered box. Alright, let's move them back to the map and see what our situation is. Alright, and we're back down to the map. As you can see, all the Polish units have been wiped out at this point. I don't believe any of them are going to be coming back. The surrender cities covered by Germany, no one's going to be able to take it over. So pretty much I'm just going to leave the rest of those units sitting there, waiting until the end of the turn, at which point Poland will surrender and Germany will control all of Poland. Now I do have to make the decision before the end of the turn whether the Russians are going to take over Eastern Poland or not. I'm still leaning towards not having them take Eastern Poland, so it reduces the Cold War tensions and be less for the Germans to have to slog through later when they go to take out Russia. Something neat to see here. See these units that have the C written on the back of them? I wrote that on there just to remember that they're conspiracy units. And what they are just simple 1-1, 1-2 units that are German Nazi conspirators. They're here and they're also in the Pacific coast in Russia for some Japanese. And what happens is if a German unit lands on that hex, basically they create an uprising among the populace who support Nazism, and you gain extra units. So anytime a German unit will land on one of these hexes, you get extra units to add to your cause that can be rebuilt at a later stage if they get killed. An easy way to know where to put them out when you're starting your game is that there's a black square with a red circle on each one of the spots where the conspirators go. It's in the book showing the exact hex code for each spot, but it's easier to see it that way so you can just plop, 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 and throw them all down. Alright, let's take and grab out an event, because I'm pretty much just at a point where I got to burn through events. There's not much else that can be done. My Italian units are pretty well stuck where they're at. The Allies can't. There is a rule somewhere, I swear. You guys tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the Allies cannot push into Germany. From what I understand, they're not allowed to go into Germany proper at this point in the game. I don't think that happens until 42, 43, somewhere around there that they're allowed to. Or maybe until after Germany attacks France. I'm not sure. If someone knows specifically, let me know. But from what I understand, like the French units can't go ahead and cross the Maginot Line into Germany and try to take them out before they're wiped out. I don't know why. It's just how it is. But let's take and pull an event sheet here. Alright. And we got this one. That is WC1, Axis Event. And you pull up in your book, and we're going to be looking at this one here. WC39. Sorry about bumping the camera there, guys. 39 one, since it's the year 39. Alright, and like I said, you can see there's only 5 events in the 39 year. WC goes to 40 after that point. So you're going to have your WC events, your VE events, and then your VJ events, of which in year 39 there's only 5 of each. Alright, the Liberian coup. If Liberia is neutral, rebels opposed to President Edwin Barclay appeal for foreign support. Roll 2d6. On a 2, Liberia goes pro-Nazi. Alright. And let me grab my 2d6 here. Since I got to roll 2 1s, I doubt that's going to happen. Well, it was actually close. We got 2 2s there. So it was close going to it. But we'll not have to worry about that. And read the rest of it. If Southwest Africa, which is down here on the map, you guys can't see it just where you're at. is UN or neutral, and there are no UN units there, of which there are not. German settlers stage a Putsch. You guys have to tell me what that is. Putsch. I don't know, must be a German word. Roll 2d6. On a 3 or less, the revolt succeeds, and Southwest Africa becomes a pro-Nazi allied country. Would be a minor ally. Nazi needs them. Right now, they've only got Italy. So far, the UN's got 2 countries out of events. And nope. I'm good at rolling doubles. Look at this. 2 5s. Let's see the rest of it. Deploy the Italian RCTL colonial unit on any Italian-controlled hex of Libya. The hell is Libya? I'll tell you what, if you don't know geography, after you have started playing this game, you learn it real quick. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to pause the video here and I will find Libya and then I'll show you guys what happened. Alright, so I found Libya. It was actually staring me in the face. It's up here in northern Africa, and it's just this unit here. It says to put into any Italian-controlled hex. Pretty much all of Libya is Italian-controlled at this point, so I'm going to just set it here for now. Or actually, I might just go ahead and put it with these guys, because they're going to be making a push that way here in a little bit. Also, I went ahead and read the rest of the event, and it said if you're using the Admiral's rule, to go ahead and place Admiral Yamamoto, which I am using. So there's old Yamamoto. And I'm placing him over here in Japan. I'm not going to bother to pan over for that because it's just single unit. One thing I did want to show you guys that I had done is I'm a former Marine myself. You know, I served a couple of tours over here in Iraq, which is over here. And there's only 2 Marine chits in the whole game. That's not cool. So if you want, you actually can make copies of them. That's my copy there on the left, and that's the original. It didn't come out too bad, I gotta say. All things considered, I just bought blank chits off of Amazon, and I made scans of the game, or all the chit sheets, when I first got it, just in case anything were to happen. If I were to lose a chit, I mean, there's like 1,600 in this game. So if I were to lose one, I could replace it, but I wanted a few extra Marine units. I didn't figure the developer would mind if I took a little liberty with that and made my own. Alright, let's go ahead, and that was the Axis event pull, chit pull. Let's take and get a allied chit here. And we got WC2. So let me pull up the book here. And I can see why some people would make cards for this. It's probably easier than having to look through the book. Alright, so we are at WC2. I'll hold that there so you guys can see it real quick. And let's take a look here. Raid. If Italy is neutral, von Ribbentrop, the Nazi foreign minister, nonsensically denounces neutral Italy for starting World War II. Italy retaliates by passing military secrets to Britain. The UN may raid one German unit in France, Belgium, or the Netherlands. None of that is applicable, so we avoid it. If Britain is at war with Germany and Portugal is neutral, the British may deploy one British garrison in any Portuguese island or colony on Map A, except not Angola or Mozambique. Treat the territory as British from now on. Then roll a d6. On a roll of 1 to 2, Portuguese denounces the invasion and goes pro-Axis. Otherwise, Portugal remains neutral. Well, great. I gotta find Portuguese island or colonies. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. You're always having to find something. It says it would be on map A. And we know Portugal's here. So, okay, here we go. There's an island right there with a P for it. For Portugal, so I know that's theirs. And that's France. So, this island we will do it. All right. Okay. Give me a sec, and I will grab that chit here. I'll even show you guys how I'm keeping my chits. I got planos here, dividing them all out, major powers, and all the smaller neutral countries or minor allies, stuff like that. I've got alphabetically so I can try to find them relatively quickly, but there's still a mess load of chits in this game, so you'll never find them that quick. Oh, come on. Of course, when I'm videotaping, here we go. Garrison unit. So we will take and put that garrison unit there. Sorry for bumping the camera, guys. Close this up. And let's roll off and see if Portugal becomes pro-Nazi. And it is just a D6 on this one. Alright, guys. I want Portugal as an ally. I want Spain as an ally, too, so I can surround those dirty French bastards. Alright. Got a 5. So, Portugal will remain neutral, and the British got an extra little island there. Let's see what else we got. Variant, the Greek-Turkish Pact. Alright, and UN Conference, Panama, C-13. Alright, give me a sec real quick. I'm going to have to look up in the rules what this stuff means. I'll be right back to you. Alright, you guys will notice the boards changed quite a lot since that quick little break I had there. Just to touch on it, variants, when they're shown in the event booklet, simply means to look at the last couple of pages in the book and it'll tell you whatever special rule or thing that's going to happen. For example, I went ahead and ran out the rest of the events that were going to take place this turn. I think it was 2 or 3 left for each side. Just not to waste time and have this video take forever, because the events do take a little time to run out. So that's probably what I'm going to do for the rest of the videos. For the rest of the turns, I'll do a couple of events and then probably do the rest off camera, because otherwise the turns are going to really make the events are going to make the turns go long. Anyway, right here is one of the variants that's on the map from one of the events. This here is the Turkish Defense Pact. And what that does is it means that Turkey is pro-ally for the moment. They signed a defensive pact with with the Britons and the France to stop Allied ships from using these straits here. So they're blocking it off, and if Turkey or Romania or somewhere else, I think Bulgaria, is attacked, Turkey immediately aligns itself with the UN and goes to war with the Axis and all that, yada yada. These variant markers are used to help remind you of that. There was another one, a Greece-Turkey alliance variant that was on a different event, I think it was. I didn't bother to put that marker out because it only lasted for the remainder of this turn, so there's no reason for me to put it out, just to pick it right back up. But to show you guys some of the other stuff that happened when I ran it out, in France you'll see they have a new HQ unit. De Gaulle came in. He almost brought a bunch of tanks with him, but failed his role, so France didn't get, I think it would have been 3 extra tanks to help defend against the oncoming German onslaught. So at least they've got an extra hero unit. I went ahead and put him there on that space on the Maginot Line to help block it off. I've got him kind of spaced out because playing against myself, I know I'm coming this way and this way. I'm actually not going through the Ardennes like the Germans did. What else happened? Slovakia ended up joining the Axis, so they are on the board now. And there was a border war between Portugal and Spain. You guys remember I was saying I wanted Spain to join the war? Well, they did. When a border war happens, you're given the choice to... They expect 2 players, so each player is supposed to secretly choose what country they're supporting. And if both players pick the same country, nothing happens. If they pick separate countries, however, each country that you picked becomes a minor ally of your side. Since I'm playing against myself, the way I handled that is I picked Spain and I rolled off for Portugal, and it just so happened that the UN picked Portugal. So Spain entered the war as a minor ally of Axis, and Portugal is now a minor ally of the UN. The Portuguese only have one unit. The Spanish have a lot of units. So that definitely worked out in my favor, and I'm getting ready to wipe Gibraltar off the map, probably on the following turn. And let's see what else happened. The British, I've had them consolidate. Since it is snowy weather, they're not able to make a sea lift move this turn, so it'll have to wait till next turn before they can send their expeditionary forces down to France to help ward off the Germans. But my general plan of attack at this moment is to push left with the Italians and whatever these guys are, native warriors, south and north with Spain, and then a two-pronged attack with Germany into France. So I'll be coming into France from 3 different directions and try to have a repeat of Dunkirk and drive them out to the sea. I did decide not to have Russia enter eastern Poland. Some of the other events increased the Cold War tensions. That's actually up to 11 now, and I don't want it to keep going up. If it keeps going up at this rate, it'll end my game. So I'm going to try to get the Cold War tensions down. Something else, the U.S. actually has some research into the A-bomb, so that'll be nice to blow some stuff up. A couple other minor countries, Xinjiang, something like that, went pro-Russia, and something else went... Oh, China, that's the big thing. China went to war with... I think it's the Axis, yeah, with Germany. If you look over here, I'll pan the camera, China over here is now at war with Germany. It was one of the events that caused the Cold War tensions to go up so high. You had to roll a d6 and pick at that point, or whatever you rolled, it added that, and I ended up rolling a 5, which was a lot to add to the Cold War tensions. I'm probably going to try to find a way on the next turn to make some type of breakout when I take out Gibraltar, so I can get the Italian ships out, because they're still stuck here in the Mediterranean, and probably send, since Poland's going to surrender this turn, I will send some of those units back. Hopefully the weather will be better so they can move farther, to take over Denmark, so I can take over that strait that's up here, this sea border, and have the German ships go out. The German ships really suck in this game. I mean, when you compare them to the British ships, the British ships have like 2, 3, 4 firepower. Most of the German battleships start with something like a 0 or a 1. If it has a 0, it can attack their aircraft carriers with 0 attack. As long as it doesn't have an X, it can, do their stuff. Oh, one other thing that I forgot. There's one more variant here. The low French morale. Sorry, that's not focusing that well, but it says low French morale. I left that there on France to remember it. That made it to where the French units are actually weaker now. Normally they're 1-4, and now they're a 1-3 because of the Phony War, or the Sitzkrieg, as it was called. That event actually happened, so it's representing the French units becoming lackadaisical and not expecting anything to happen, and having their fortitude go down because of it. So it's going to make my push into France all the more easy. We'll just have to see how the rest of this is going to play out. I'm going to take and end the video here. Both sides are passing at this point, and I'll probably do a small quick video of the production and what happens post the warfare stage. But after this point, I'm going to stick with pretty much just the warfare stage and not the upkeep and the bookkeeping, since that I can just kind of show you guys real quick. One thing I did want to point out that I did that's helping me out, and I'll probably type this up so it looks a little better since my crappy handwriting. I couldn't find it anywhere but the pulses. Everything basically that you can do on your turn is not written down anywhere. It's simply in the rule book, and it's 5.2 to 5.14, all the different things that you can do, which is basically move, rail move, sea lift, which is move across the water, amphibious assault, which can't be done without a event shit pool anyway, or things like garrison, which I actually did for the UN here. There's a extra garrison unit under there that I created. Just a list of that written down somewhere, because it's basically the turn sequence for the warfare stage. If they'd had that written down on the map somewhere or a separate chart, it would have helped, but I haven't seen it anywhere, so I just wrote it back on the back of one of my player aids to kind of help myself out. Oh, speaking of which, I know some of you guys saw this on BGG from what you commented about, but there are some player aids on Board Game Geek down in the file section that I printed off that do condense down some of the other information from the rulebook. Let's see. I know like the ship combat sequence, and there's a few other things that help you out. So if you're playing the game, definitely print out those aids. It'll help you big time. And the mechanized tank upgrades. Some guys trying to do a something with it, a chart to kind of give people an idea of how they can upgrade and get kind of some type of specific rule with it. The designer hasn't gotten too far into it yet, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. I'll do a little more digging on it and see if it's going to improve the gameplay. If not, I might... actually, I probably won't add it in if it's going to add too much complication, because this is already so much to keep track of as it is. But alright, if you guys have any other questions, or if you saw any rule specifics that I got wrong I need to know about, please let me know. Like I said, the next video is going to be a short one just about the production phase, and then after that I'll get into just turn-by-turn sequence. You guys take care.